I wanted to marry the cartoon, the green one, and Angelina Jolie, the hot one, so that you get a little bit of best of both worlds and a little bit of just fun, good times, just genuine good old times. This tutorial is featuring this bad boy. Oh, perfect. Let's make a smoky eye with this, am I right? It's gonna be super fun. We're all gonna have a really great time. We're gonna channel our inner Disney villain. Please enjoy, subscribe if you like it, and I will see you in a second. I'm starting off with the brows, and I want them to be villainous, as you can imagine, because we're doing a Maleficent tutorial. So I'm using the Stila Stay All Day Brow Gel, which is a nice black color, and I'm starting right here in the center. And what I'm going to do is make the arch appear higher and the inner part of the brow appear lower, and that's what's going to give it that extremely arched villainous effect. So I just start by using really slow and steady strokes with the gel. And then with whatever product's left, I make my way to the inner corner and do the same thing, just feathering in strokes. Move back and forth to make sure your line connects as well. Now I'm blending upward from the line we just created, and I'm bringing it in a little further. Next step is just going to be to do the top, and you want to basically follow that same situation. You want to get in here, you want to create your arch, and you want to bring it down nice and far. Connect your outer corner, as you can see me doing here. And then the secret for this is, as you're bringing it in, you want it to go up a little bit higher, so that this inner portion is nice and large. So I'm going to start here because I have very little product left on my brush. And I'm just going to connect that line in, essentially moving it downward to where the arch is. And then once your line is nice and straight and connected, you can go in and fill in the outer arch with just a big glob of product. I'm really packing it in there and making sure it's nice and dark, and making sure those lines are nice and straight as I go. Lastly, move to the inner corner and just blend the product inward, leaving the very center portion just blank. Last step to make the brows, like kind of my last step to make them villainous, is going to be to go into the arch once I'm all done and just extend it. And to do that, I start on the bottom line, I take it down further, and then I just connect the top line over. It's really easy. You can pretty much extend them as far as you want just by making sure that you're following the shape like congruently to what you already had. Next step is going to be to take my concealer and just carve these out. I'm using NYX HD concealer in Fair, I believe, or Porcelain. It's just a nice light color. And I just like to take the applicator, get it as close to the brow as possible. You can also just go back and clean it up where it wasn't as perfect, because there's less product on the wand. And then I just go in and drag it down, and that's just going to make it easier to blend it out without touching the brow. I'm just going to go and do the same thing on the top. Following that shape and just slowly dragging it downward. And don't be afraid to lift the wand and come back in if you need to. And then just clean up that line, drag it inward, and put a little bit on the inner corner like so. And then blend some of that product upward. And then grab a dense synthetic brush and use that to blend out the concealer. I just use tapping motions, and what that does is, instead of swiping the concealer around, picking up some of the product off the face and onto the brush. What it does is it leaves the product in place and just blends it and pushes it into the pores to make it look like skin. I'm going to take whatever product is left over on the brush and just tap on that inner corner. And then my last step for the brows is going to be to take either a tinted brow mascara, or if you're doing black, which you should be for Maleficent, a regular mascara. And I'm just going to get in there and brush upward at the hairs so that the hairs enhance the ombre effect. So my next step is I'm going to just take the concealer onto my eye, and that is going to prime my eye for me. It's also going to correct the purpleness, all that, and I just use the applicator to just apply it all over the place. I'm going to take eye drops, okay? I'm going to put them in my eye. So I'm going to squeeze the eye drops out of my eye so that some like kind of go around. And I don't know what the ingredient is in eye drops, but when you're mixing it with concealer, it makes for an excellent eye primer. It just prevents creasing like no other. And while the concealer is correcting all your color and just providing a base, the eye drops are mixing in there and making just a really nice creaseless primer for the eyeshadow. I'm just going to use the same tapping method I did under my brows, and I'm just going to tap that concealer in all over my eye and spread whatever excess just all around the general eye area. And then I'm just going to get in there and set it. I'm using a powder from Coty Airspun. They actually have a couple colors, and this is the more pink toned translucent powder. So I'm just going to set that, I'm going to let it bake, and then I'm going to brush it off. So my next step, I'm just going to take a black pencil eyeliner, and I'm going to get ready to start smudging in and mapping out the shape of our eyeshadow. So I'm just going to start on the lash line, and I'm going to really messily start placing this. I just want to make sure it's nice and black, and that I'm getting it all the way close up to my lashes. Once that's all placed, I'm going to take a dense synthetic brush and I'm going to get in there and smudge. Work fast with this so that it doesn't set before you can smudge it out. I just use back and forth motions, and I don't take the brush up too high because I don't want this to go up too high. On the same brush, I'm going to take black from the Lorac Mega Pro 2 palette. I'm going to start defining my crease. So to do this, I just want to start right in where that natural crease is. And I want to really frame my eye and hollow out where my natural crease is, if that makes sense. I'm just taking it up a little higher because, as you know, I have hooded lids. I'm just moving this product back and forth. I started with very little on the brush. That's really important when working with black because you don't want to mess up all your hard work. And then I'm just going to take some black on the side of the brush, and I'm going to tap this between my eyeliner line and my crease line. And now we have our nice rounded outer corner shape. Obviously, we're not worrying about blending right now with this small, dense brush, but what we are doing is making sure that we have plenty of good, diffused, not patchy product there. Now, before we move on to our blending, I'm just going to take a small brush and set the smudged liner with the black eyeshadow. Again, making sure it's all the way up close to the lash line. I just pick up some product and I tap along there, and then I wipe it off the brush, and I get on there and just make sure that it's smoothed out and there's not any powdery areas. Now I'm going to take a fluffy brush and I'm going to grab Sorbet from the palette, and this is going to be my transition shade. It's just a really, really soft pink shade, and I'm going to come in here on the crease, and I'm just going to start using back and forth motions with this color on the brush to gently blend out the black. Starting with little bits of product and really small motions, and we're just basically getting it on there and getting our basic shadow laid down. Once I'm happy with starting to see that gradient, I'm going to take it into my crease And I'm just gonna use back and forth motions. You can see where my crease is shaping my eye right now as I move the brush back and forth. And you can just stay in that shape and move back and forth. It's super, super easy. Lastly, I'm just gonna start to blend sorbet a little bit higher so that we can go in with a shade that's in between sorbet and black and get the gradient really going. I'm gonna grab Ash from the palette, and this is just gonna be our middle transition between sorbet and black. It is just a gray color. I'm gonna put it along the edges of black first, and then I'm gonna bring it in on that crease shape that we were blending sorbet in. Doing circular motions all the while, and this is just gonna keep the product from looking patchy at all. It's going to just allow us to, you know, get that good shape going. I'm just gonna go back in with sorbet and blend out those edges. Re-deepen it to make it nice and dark in our crease. And we're finally going to highlight the lid. I'm gonna grab chiffon. The reason I'm using an accent brush is because I don't want to interfere with any of our black. And I'm just gonna start packing this on between the liner and the crease. So one of my last steps for the eyeshadow before we move on is I really want to cool this down, make an effort for it to go with the green that's going to be on my face. Taking blue quartz from the palette and just a tiny bit on my fluffy brush, and I'm just brushing this on top of that entire black area, and it's just going to bring a tiny little bit of a blue wash, just a tiny, tiny little bit. Gonna tightline my waterline, which is just gonna make it so it's all nice and black, and it's also gonna help prep for false lashes. Always look down at your mirror for this and just move in small strokes. If you can find that sweet spot where you can just pick up your lid with the pencil and your eyelashes aren't touching your eye, then you're in. I'm gonna put on mascara just to prep for falsies. Doesn't have to be pretty, it just has to be on, and it has to be sticky so that falsies will stick to it and look like they're natural lashes. For lashes, I'm using Ardell Mesmerizing Lashes because they're fluffy and they're villainous and they're pretty. And I'm just gonna lay these down as close to the lash line as humanly possible. So I'm going to prime my face with a primer that's going to whiten it. Then I'm going to use my translucent powder, and I'm actually going to lay this down to prime. I want a nice matte base for my foundation to go onto, and just having a light wash of translucent powder is an easy way to do that. And now for my foundation. Basically what we're going for here is super full coverage. So I'm starting with the Rimmel Stay Matte Foundation in the shade Porcelain, which is a nice light white color. And I'm just using any flat top brush to buff this onto the face. Next, I'm going to use my Baby Anastasia Fair Cream Contour Kit, which just came out recently. And I'm going to use dense synthetic brushes, a different selection of them, and I'm going to have a video just exclusively on this later. But for now, I'll give you a quick overview. So I'm going to use dense synthetic brushes in the cream kit, and it has just nice, perfect, cool tone shades, just just a dream come true, for real. Okay, I'm just gonna start working on my cheekbones with a very small amount of product. And what we're gonna do is build them up so that we just get a really harsh contoured cheekbone. I'm using the first lightest shade in the kit to just start my gradient and just fill in my whole hollow of my cheekbone area. Take the tip of the brush, I'm gonna take the darkest contour shade. I'm gonna come in here and start carving it out all the way up to my temple, down to my lip. Using the tip of brush allows a little bit more precision in your placement because it is a smaller surface area. I'm going to bring it up to my temple and just make sure we have a nice harsh diagonal. Now it's hella harsh, and that's okay because we're gonna clean it up a little bit. I'm gonna take another brush, one of the nice highlighting skin tone shades, and this one is flat, and I'm gonna carve out underneath. Just use tapping motions for this. Bring it up to my ear, and just tap along that bottom edge. Clean up that line a little bit, and then I'm gonna dip into the product and clean up the top, starting in here, and just tapping, and that's just gonna diffuse the product and make it less harsh. I'm just gonna take whatever excess is left on my first brush, and I'm gonna use that to carve out the jawline a little bit and make it nice like Angelina Jolie's. Next, we're gonna contour the nose to look nice and thin, nice and thin. So I'm taking another synthetic brush, using that light shade again, and I like to start up here because my nose is super thick up here, and I just lay down product, not worrying about how dramatic this is because we can always go back in and blend it out. The shape looks harsh, and that's because it is. Take whatever excess is left on this brush, and I'm just gonna put that in the Cupid's bow to make the lips look a little more full, and I'm also gonna put it underneath, right under the bottom of my lip. Same reason. Blend for you because you don't have that much left on the brush. Another synthetic brush without any product, and I'm picking up that nice soft fair light shade or whatever it's called, and I'm gonna use that to clean up my contours just like I did on my cheeks. So I'm running this along the sides and back. Along the sides. Center as well. And up between my brows. Nice. And dots going. I'm using my finger just to gently buff that out, and taking a little bit on the sides of the Cupid's bow. Same reason, plumping up them lips, and that's our contour. So my next step is going to be to incorporate the green skin that's on the cartoon Maleficent, and I'm using Shamrock Green eyeshadow from Coastal Scents, which is a nice bluish green that we'll be able to get a nice light wash with. I'm using a very fluffy, very not dense brush for this. So I'm starting in all the places I would contour. So I'm gonna get the edges of my face and just use circular motions to get a nice light wash and just blend this onto the skin. So I'm taking Sugar Pills Mochi, and that's going to be my transition into my skin from the other green. And I'm just going to start brushing this basically against the edges. Just, again, a very light wash of this color as well. You could finally set your makeup, and so I'm just using the same translucent powder that I've been using, and I'm going to bake my face because I never did set it. I applied cream contour, so yeah, now I'm actually setting it, just placing this all over the place. Highlight the inner corners of my eyes and my face, and for this I'm using Sugar Rush duochrome pigment from Makeup Geek. I'm just starting with a little bit on my finger, and I'm going to use that to highlight my inner corners of my eyes. Since it's a loose pigment, it should be nice and easy to just place that on there and spread it around with your finger and get that nice duochrome wash of bluish, pinkish, greenish white. Now that same color is going to go back onto my face to be my face highlight. And so I'm going to carve the top of my cheekbone contour out, bring it all the way up and around to make those cheekbones look nice and high. I'm going to bring it inward under my eye in our triangular eye shape a little bit. And this is just going to cool down the face even more and kind of mesh with all that green. A little bit on the underside of the contour, just so some light reflects off there. Just use my finger to put it on the other high points of my face. So Cupid's bow, oh, way too much. On my nose and bring it upward in a line. Alright, so back to the eyes. I'm taking my little angle brush here, my little accent angle brush, and I'm just placing black in the outer corner here. And I'm bringing it about halfway in, and I'm making sure it's all the way up close to the lashes. I'm stopping about right where my pupil is. Make sure it connects up to the black we have on top. And I'm putting a little bit of the ash gray color around the edge of that. A little bit of the blue. I'm going to take a little bit of my chiffon shade, which is my lid shade. I'm going to put that connecting to my inner corner. I'm going to put black on my waterline. And I'm going to make sure it's all up in between those lashes as I place it. Now that that liner created a little bit of a cream base, I'm going to put some more black down there just to darken things. And one more time with my gray and my blue. For the lips, I'm taking Essence Lip Liner in Femme Fatale, which is a nice blue toned red, and that is what we're using today, blue tone reds. And I'm just going to start lining my lips on the top, and I'm going to overline them in the center and connect them down to my natural lip, and we're going to make them nice and pouty and pointy in the center. So start here, make yourself a little X, marks the spot. Then bring it up over your natural lip, and same thing on the other side. Make sure they're pretty even. And on the bottom, overline just slightly on the center. And connect those to the corners of your natural lip. Actual lip color, I'm going to be mixing Sephora Cream Lip Stain in Always Red. Just a touch of Makeup Monster's Tide and True liquid lipstick to make it a little bit more cool toned. And pop that on my lips.